Welcome to Criminal Mystery. Today I'll be talking about 4 scary unsolved murders and cold cases. Before I begin, please like and subscribe for more content. The Black Dahlia, Los Angeles, California. Elizabeth Short was originally from Massachusetts and she decided to move to California at the age of 18 in hopes of becoming an actress. She stayed with her father, Cleo Short, for a period of time but moved around a lot. On January 15, 1947, the body of Elizabeth Short was found by a woman and her 3-year-old daughter. The scene was horrifying, with her body being split into 2, arms over her shoulders and legs spread apart. Her mouth was cut from ear to ear and all the blood in her body had appeared to have been drained. Police believed that this wasn't the site of the murder and that this was just the place that the killer had decided to discard her remains. As of today, no one knows who killed Elizabeth Short, eventually dubbed the Black Dahlia. One possible theory is that this was the work of a notorious killer from Cleveland, the Cleveland Torso Killer. This is because the killings in Cleveland were eerily similar. What do you think happened to the Black Dahlia? The Alphabet Murders, Rochester, New York. Between 1971 and 1973, 3 young girls went missing. Just days after their disappearance, they were found deceased. 10-year-old Carmen Colon disappeared on November 16, 1971, and just 2 days later, she was found dead in Churchville, New York. Her autopsy revealed that she had in fact been raped. News spread quickly, and 2 newspaper companies, Democrat and Chronicles and the Times-Union, offered a reward for any information that would lead to an arrest. About a year and a half later, 11-year-old Wanda Walkowitz disappeared on April 2, 1973, and just a day later, her body was found in Webster, New York. Unlike Carmen, Wanda was fully clothed, but she was still raped. DNA evidence was found, but it did not lead anywhere. The last known victim, 11-year-old Michelle Mainzel, was reported missing November 26, 1973. 2 days later, she was found dead in Macedon, New York. Just like the previous girls, Michelle was raped. Who could have done this to these girls? Many cars had passed 10-year-old Carmen Colon shortly after escaping her killer's car, and none of them stopped to help. People also think that Carmen was killed by a different person. This is because she was the only girl who was not redressed, and she was killed differently. She was also the only victim who had no food in her stomach. White cat fur was found on Wanda and Michelle, but not on Carmen. FBI profiler Robert Ressler believed that Carmen's killer was extremely angry, and this was personal, meaning that she likely knew her killer. One suspect is the infamous Kenneth Bianchi, also known as the Hillside Strangler. Both him and his cousin had committed several murders in the late 1970s. Kenneth Bianchi had lived in Rochester at the time of the killings. The Springfield Three, Springfield, Missouri. Shortly after the graduation at Kickapoo High School in 1992, 3 women went missing. On June 7, 1992, 18-year-old Stacy McCall, 19-year-old friend Suzanne Streeter, and 47-year-old Cheryl Levitt, Suzanne's mother, disappeared after attending a graduation party. After several attempts at contacting them, family members began making their way to Cheryl's house. All 3 cars were still at the house, which gave the family a sense of relief. However, this wouldn't last long. There were no signs of a struggle at Cheryl's home, other than shattered glass from a lamp on the porch, and no sign of where they could be. They were reported missing and tips came flooding in. Many of these tips led nowhere, but police were eventually led to Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and suspected killer. He quickly became a person of interest in the case, and when the police began questioning Cox, his girlfriend had an alibi for him. But when he was later arrested in Texas for aggravated robbery, she admitted to lying about the alibi. Robert claimed that he knew the women were no longer alive, but wouldn't share any other information. Nothing further came of this, and this disappearance is still unsolved to this day. The Yogurt Shop Murders, Austin, Texas. On December 6, 1991, a yogurt shop caught fire, but when firefighters put it out, they came across a scene that would remain a mystery for decades to come. Amy Ayers, Eliza Thomas, Sarah Harbison, and Jennifer Harbison were all found murdered. They were burned beyond recognition and found naked, bound, and gagged with their own clothing. All of the girls were found close together, other than Amy, who was found further back. It became apparent that this was not an accidental fire and the store had been robbed. After the autopsies, it was discovered that at least 2 of the girls had been raped, and all 4 were shot in the back of the head. Strangely, there were 2 guns that were used, suggesting that there were multiple killers. Could this have been a robbery gone wrong? Was this a targeted attack? And if so, why were these girls chosen? A lot of the forensic evidence was washed away when the fire was put out. After many misleading tips, police were led to Kenneth Allen McDuff, a convicted serial killer. Kenneth was suspected of killing more than 14 people. He was released from prison due to overcrowding in 1989, but in 1998, he was executed. He confessed to the Euro Shop killings, but was ruled out when DNA evidence didn't match. In 1999, 4 men, Robert Springsteen, Forrest Wellborn, Michael Scott, and Maurice Pierce, were taken into custody for the murders. These were the same men that were questioned just days after the murders were actually committed. 2 of these men, Robert Springsteen and Michael Scott, confessed to killing and raping the girls. Charges against Forrest Wellborn and Maurice Pierce were dropped due to lack of evidence. Michael Scott and Robert Springsteen were tried separately and sentenced. Scott received a sentence of life in prison, while Springsteen received the death penalty. Shortly after this conviction, people were questioning whether or not these men were actually innocent. Both Michael and Robert claimed that their confessions were coerced by police. There was also no physical evidence connecting them to the crime. In 2009, their conviction was overturned and it was determined that their constitutional rights had been violated. The district attorney at the time, Rosemary Lemberg, said that she hoped Springsteen and Scott were going to be tried again, but until then, they had to focus on finding out whose DNA was found at the crime scene. While the 4 men are still thought to be the real killers, many people believe that there had to be a 5th person, and this was the one who left the DNA behind. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe for more content like this. See you next time.